The great station floated in the darkness of space like a city made of light. Accord Prime was the largest structure ever built by intelligent life. It was home to diplomats, traders, and representatives from 200 different species. For 12,000 years, this place had been the heart of galactic civilization. And today, for the first time, humans walked its halls. Captain Ho stood near the observation window and looked out at the stars. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and calm eyes. His uniform was simple and dark, nothing like the colorful robes worn by the alien delegates around him. Behind him, Lieutenant Bin waited quietly with her hands behind her back. "They are staring at us," Bin said in a low voice. "Let them stare," Ho replied. "We are new here, it is natural." But Ho knew it was more than simple curiosity. He could see it in their eyes. The aliens looked at them the way a person might look at a child who had wandered into an important meeting. There was amusement there, and pity. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. In that short time, they had built a small fleet of ships, made contact with the Galactic Council, and sent their first ambassadors to Accord Prime. It was a proud achievement for Earth. But to species that had traveled between stars for thousands of years, humans were nothing special. They were newcomers, primitives, curiosities. A tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms approached them. This was Ambassador, one of the senior representatives of the council. His face was long and narrow, and when he smiled, it did not reach his dark eyes. "Captain Ho said, 'Welcome to Accord Prime. I trust your journey was comfortable.'" "It was long," Ho said honestly. "Our ships are not as fast as yours." "Yes, we noticed." Smile grew wider. "Your vessel took 3 weeks to reach us. Most council ships make the same trip in 4 days, but do not worry. In time, perhaps we can share some of our technology with you when you are ready for it." Bin's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Led them through the station toward the main assembly hall. Along the way, they passed dozens of alien species. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and covered in fur. A few had no legs at all and floated through the air on invisible currents. All of them stopped to watch the humans pass. "Your species is quite remarkable," said as they walked. "To achieve space travel so quickly with such limited resources. Most species take much longer." "Thank you," Ho said. "Of course, your methods are rather old-fashioned." Waved one of his 4 hands in a casual gesture. "Chemical rockets, metal hulls, and your weapons, I am told, still use kinetic projectiles. Fascinating. We have not seen such things in active use for 10,000 years." "Our weapons work well enough," Bin said before she could stop herself. Looked at her with an expression of gentle amusement. "I am sure they do, Lieutenant, against each other perhaps, but the galaxy has moved beyond such primitive tools. Our ships use plasma lances and particle beams, energy weapons that can strike at the speed of light, pushing metal through space." He chuckled softly. "That is what pre-civilizations do." Ho put a hand on Bin's arm to calm her. "We are always eager to learn," he said smoothly. They entered the assembly hall, and Ho had to stop himself from showing his amazement. The room was enormous. Hundreds of platforms floated at different levels, each one holding delegates from a different species. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. Admiral Hana was already there, seated on Earth's small platform near the bottom of the chamber. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. When she saw Ho and Bin approach, she nodded once. "The Council is discussing trade agreements today," Hana said quietly. "We are here to observe, nothing more." "Understood, Admiral," Ho said. He took his seat and watched as the Council conducted its business. Species that had been traveling between stars when humans still lived in caves debated taxes and shipping routes. It was all very civilized, very peaceful. But Ho noticed something else. He noticed how the older species talked down to the younger ones. He noticed how certain groups controlled the conversation while others stayed silent. He noticed that beneath the surface of peace there were old tensions, old fears. And he noticed one name that kept coming up in whispered conversations: the Dominion. During a break in the proceedings, Ho found himself standing near a small alien with green scales and large eyes. The creature was making notes on a glowing pad and muttering to himself. "Excuse me," Ho said. "I am Captain Ho from Earth." The alien looked up with surprise. "Ah, yes, the humans. I am scholar. I study new species for the Council archives." He tilted his head. "You are from the planet they call a death world, yes?" Ho frowned. "Death world. Your planet Earth. Gravity of 1G, extreme temperature variations, massive predators, violent weather, bacteria and viruses everywhere. 70% of the surface covered in a substance that can kill most species." Shook his head. "Water, I believe you call it. Most civilizations would never evolve on such a world. Yet here you are." "We survived," Ho said simply. "Yes, that is what interests me." Looked at Ho with something different from what the other aliens showed. Not amusement, not pity, something closer to respect. "The Council dismisses your kind as primitive, but I wonder if they are making a mistake." "What do you mean?" Leaned closer. "A species that survives a death world does not do so by being weak. They do it by being strong, by being clever, by being—" he searched for the word— "dangerous." Before Ho could respond, a loud tone rang through the assembly hall. The council was returning to session. Gathered his notes. "It was good to meet you, Captain. I suspect we will hear more from your species in the future, perhaps more than anyone expects." He walked away, leaving Ho alone with his thoughts. That night back aboard the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge, Ho called a meeting in his private quarters. Bin, Engineer Wu Jin, and Sergeant gathered around a small table. "They think we are nothing," Bin said bitterly. "They look at us like we are children playing with toys." "Let them think that," Ho said. "It may be useful." Wu Jin, a quiet man with clever hands and tired eyes, spoke up. "Captain, the systems are fully operational. We tested them before we left Earth. The Mark VII can accelerate a 2-ton slug to 3% of light speed. At that velocity, no energy shield in the galaxy can stop it." "Because their shields are designed for energy weapons," added. He was a large man with scars on his face from old battles. "They forgot about kinetic force. They think it is primitive." "Then we let them keep thinking that," Ho said, "until the day we need to show them otherwise." Bin looked at him. "And when will that day come?" Ho stood and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of Accord Prime glittered like jewels against the black. "Soon," he said quietly. "I have a feeling it will come very soon." The message came without warning. It appeared on every screen, every communication device, every display across the galaxy at the same moment. The face that filled those screens was not pleasant to look at. It was gray and rough, like stone that had been carved by an angry hand. 2 red eyes burned beneath a heavy brow. This was High Commander of the Dominion. "Citizens of the Galactic Council," said, his voice deep and cold. "For too long you have hidden behind your treaties and your peace. For too long you have grown soft and weak while the Dominion has grown strong. That time is over." On the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, Captain Ho watched the broadcast with his crew. No one spoke. "The border systems of and this S now belong to the Dominion," continued. "Any attempt to stop us will be crushed. Any resistance will be destroyed. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is your new reality. Accept it or suffer." The screen went dark. For a long moment there was silence on the bridge. Then Bin turned to Ho. "Captain, those systems have millions of people, civilians, if they take them." "I know," Ho said quietly. Engineer Wu Jin was already checking his displays. "Captain, the Council is calling an emergency session. All representatives are being summoned to Accord Prime. Set a course, Ho ordered. Maximum speed. The horizon's edge turned and jumped into faster-than-light travel. Even at their best speed, it would take 6 days to reach the station. Ho spent those 6 days thinking, planning, preparing. When they arrived at Accord Prime, the station was in chaos. Ships from 100 different species crowded the docking areas. Diplomats rushed through the corridors with fear in their eyes. The council chamber was so full that delegates had to stand on floating platforms that had been added at the last moment. Admiral Hana met Ho at the entrance to the chamber. Her face was tired but determined. "The situation is bad," she said. "The council is divided. Half of them want to fight. The other half want to negotiate. And none of them have fought a real war in 8,000 years. "What about Earth?" Ho asked. "What are our orders?" Hana's eyes were hard. "Earth has offered military assistance. We have ships. We have weapons. We are ready to help defend the border systems." And the council's response? Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Ambassador thanked us for our offer. He said this is a matter for established powers. He said humanity should focus on learning from more experienced species before trying to participate in galactic affairs." Ho felt something cold settle in his chest. "They refused us. They think we would only get in the way." Hana looked at him steadily. "They still think we are primitives playing with toys." Inside the chamber, the debate raged on. Species with names that Ho could not pronounce argued back and forth. Some demanded immediate military action against them. Others insisted that war would only make things worse. A few suggested giving the Dominion what it wanted to avoid conflict. "The Dominion has the largest fleet in the galaxy," one delegate said. "Their ships outnumber ours 3-1. How can we possibly fight them?" "We must try diplomacy," another argued. "Perhaps if we offer them something, they will be satisfied." "They will never be satisfied," a third voice shouted. "The Dominion wants power. They will take and take until there is nothing left." Ho watched it all with growing frustration. These were the great powers of the galaxy, the species that had looked down on humanity as primitive and backward. And now, faced with a real threat, they could not even agree on what to do. 3 days passed, the debate continued, and then the news came. A refugee convoy had been fleeing the border systems. 12 transport ships carrying 40,000 civilians. Men, women, children, families trying to escape before they arrived. They had almost reached council space when a patrol found them. They did not capture them. They did not turn them back. They destroyed them. All 12 ships, all 40,000 people, gone in minutes. When the news reached Accord Prime, something changed. The debate stopped. The chamber fell silent. Delegates who had argued for peace now stared at the floor with shame in their eyes. But still, no one moved. No one acted. "We need more time to prepare," Ambassador said weakly. "We cannot rush into this." Ho stood up. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. "Captain Ho said, this is not the time for." 40,000 people, Ho said. His voice was calm, but there was iron beneath it. 40,000 innocent people were murdered while we sat here talking. How much more time do you need? How many more need to die before you act? "Captain, please understand our position. The Council has not faced a military threat of this scale in thousands of years. We must proceed carefully." "Carefully?" Ho looked around the chamber. "Is that what you call it? I call it cowardice." Gasps filled the room. No one had ever spoken to the council this way. Admiral Hana stood quickly. "Captain Ho, that is enough. Return to your ship." Ho met her eyes. Something passed between them, an understanding, a silent agreement. "Yes, Admiral," he said. "I will return to my ship." He turned and walked out of the chamber. Bin and followed close behind. None of them spoke until they were back aboard the horizon's edge. "Captain," Bin said as soon as the airlock closed behind them, "what are we doing?" Ho walked to the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, they were killing innocent people. Somewhere out there, families were dying while the galaxy watched and did nothing. "We are going to the border," Ho said. Bin stared at him. "Captain, that is directly against orders. The council told us to stay away." "The council is not my master." Ho turned to face his crew. "I serve Earth, I serve humanity, and I will not stand by while innocent people are slaughtered." Stepped forward. "Captain, if we do this, there is no going back. We could be court-martialed. We could start a war." "The war has already started," Ho said. "The only question is whether we will fight it or hide from it." Wu Jin was already at his station, running calculations. "Captain, I have located another refugee convoy. 15 ships. They are being pursued by 3 destroyers. If we leave now, we can intercept them in 18 hours. Ho nodded, set a course. Captain Bin said, and her voice was different now. "Harder, ready. Should I prepare the main battery?" Ho looked at her. He thought about all the times they had been laughed at, all the times they had been dismissed as primitives. He thought about the sitting in the heart of their ship, waiting. "Yes," he said, "prepare the full charge." The horizon's edge turned away from Accord Prime and jumped into the darkness of space. Behind them, the council continued to debate. Ahead of them, 3 destroyers were hunting innocent people. And aboard the small human ship, Lieutenant Bin began the long process of waking up the most devastating weapon the galaxy had forgotten existed. The nebula glowed purple and gold against the blackness of space. It was beautiful, like a painting made of fire and light. But Captain Ho had no time to admire it. His eyes were fixed on the tactical display, where 15 small dots were being chased by 3 much larger ones. "Distance to the convoy?" he asked. 40 minutes at current speed, Wu Jin reported. "The destroyers will reach them in 35. Increase power to engines, everything we have." The horizon's edge groaned as Wu Jin pushed the ship harder. On normal days, this would damage the engines, but this was not a normal day. Bin sat at the weapons console, her fingers moving over the controls with practiced ease. There was a complex machine. It needed to be charged slowly and carefully. If the power levels were wrong by even a small amount, the weapon could tear the ship apart from the inside. "At 60%, she said, 40 minutes to full charge." "That is cutting it close," said from his tactical station. "If we arrive before the weapon is ready." "Then we will have to be creative," Ho said. "But we will not let those people die." The minutes passed slowly. On the display, the 3 red dots moved closer and closer to the 15 blue ones. Ho could imagine the fear on those refugee ships, families holding each other, children crying, everyone knowing that death was coming and there was nothing they could do. "At 80%, Bin said. "Contact in 10 minutes, Wu Jin added. Ho stood up from his chair. "Open a channel to the refugee convoy, wide broadcast." "Channel open." "Refugee vessels, this is Captain Ho of the Earth Defense Vessel Horizon's Edge. Help is coming. Stay on your current course and do not change speed. We will protect you." There was a moment of silence. Then a voice came back filled with surprise and hope. "Earth vessel, we did not know humans had ships this far out. Are you alone?" "Yes," Ho said, "but we are enough." He closed the channel before they could ask more questions. The horizon's edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel and entered normal space. Ahead of them, the refugee convoy was visible as a scattered collection of lights. Behind the convoy, much closer now, were the 3 destroyers. Each destroyer was enormous. They were shaped like long black knives, with red lights glowing along their sides. Weapons pods covered their surfaces like blisters on burned skin. A single destroyer could destroy most space stations. There were 3 of them. And facing them was one small human ship. "They have noticed us," said. "They are scanning our vessel." "Let them scan," Ho said. Position us between them and the convoy. The horizon's edge moved forward, placing itself directly in the path of the destroyers. It was like a child standing in front of a group of wolves. The difference in size was almost laughable. At 92%, Bin said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were tight on the controls. A new signal came through the communication system. Ho nodded to put it on the main screen. The face that appeared was that of High Commander himself. His stone-gray skin seemed even harder in the dim light of his bridge. His red eyes stared out of the screen with cold amusement. "Well," said slowly, "what do we have here? A human vessel. I did not know your kind had traveled this far from your little blue planet." "High Commander," Ho said, "I am Captain Ho of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge. I am ordering you to stop your pursuit of these civilian vessels and withdraw from this area." Laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Ordering me? Little human, do you understand what you are looking at? These are 3 Dominion destroyers. Each one carries enough firepower to turn your entire planet to ash, and you are ordering me." "I am giving you a chance to leave peacefully," Ho said. "Take it." "Or what?" Leaned forward, his red eyes burning. "I have heard about your weapons, human, your little metal throwers. Do you know what our shields can do? They can absorb the combined firepower of 10 Council warships. Your primitive guns cannot even scratch our paint." "You seem very confident." "I am very correct," waved a clawed hand dismissively. "But I admire your courage. It is foolish but admirable. Tell me, Captain, are all humans this eager to die?" Ho did not blink. "We do not die easily. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We survived. We will survive you too." For a moment something flickered in his eyes. It might have been doubt, it might have been curiosity. But then it was gone, replaced by cold contempt. "Enough talking," said. "I will give you one chance to surrender. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. I have never captured a human before. You will make an interesting addition to my collection." "And if I refuse?" "Then you will die and I will still capture your ship," smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Your choice, little human." Ho looked at Bin. She held up her hand, showing him the number on her screen. "At 100%. "High Commander," Ho said, turning back to the screen. "I have a counteroffer. Turn your ships around and go home. Do this and you will live. Refuse and I will destroy you." Stared at him for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. It started as a chuckle and grew into a roar that echoed through the communication channel. Behind him, his bridge crew joined in, their alien laughter filling the air. "Destroy me," said when he could finally speak. "You, in that tiny ship, with your ancient weapons," he shook his head. "I have not laughed this hard in years. Thank you, human, you have given me a gift. Now prepare to die." The screen went dark. "They are charging weapons," said. "All 3 destroyers, they are targeting us." "Evasive maneuvers," Ho ordered. "Bin, target the lead destroyer. Aim for the reactor core center mass." Bin's fingers danced over her console. The targeting computer locked onto the first destroyer. Deep inside the horizon's edge, the hummed with power. Electromagnetic coils charged with enough energy to light a city. A 2-ton tungsten slug sat in the firing chamber, waiting to be thrown across the void at 3% of the speed of light. "Target locked," Bin said, "ready to fire." Captain Woojin said, "They are firing." Beams of brilliant red plasma crossed the space between them. The horizon's edge twisted and turned, but it was too small and too slow. The first beam hit their shields and the ship shook violently. Alarms began to scream. "Shields at 40%, shouted. "Another hit like that and we are finished." The second beam struck. The lights on the bridge flickered and died, replaced by the red glow of emergency power. Smoke filled the air. Somewhere in the ship, metal screamed as it was torn apart. "Shields are gone," Woojin yelled. "Hull breach on deck 4, we cannot take another hit." Ho gripped the arms of his chair. His ship was dying around him. In a few seconds, the next plasma bolt would hit, and the horizon's edge would become a cloud of debris floating in space. But he was not afraid. He was calm, he was ready. "Ben," he said quietly. She looked at him. Her face was lit by the glow of her console. There was no fear in her eyes, only certainty. "Fire." Ben pressed the firing button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. There was no bright beam of light like the plasma weapons used. There was no colorful explosion of energy. There was only a deep hum that vibrated through the entire ship, a flash of blue light from the main battery, and then silence. The head fired. The 2-ton tungsten slug left the barrel at 3% of the speed of light. That meant it was traveling at 9,000 kilometers per second. At that speed, the slug crossed the distance to the lead destroyer in less than half a second. The aliens never even saw it coming. On the bridge of the lead destroyer, High Commander was watching the damaged human ship with satisfaction. His weapons officers were preparing the final shot that would end this foolish resistance. He was already thinking about what he would do with the human captain's body. Then his entire world ended. The tungsten slug hit the destroyer's energy shields. These shields were the finest in the galaxy. They had been designed to absorb plasma bolts, particle beams, and nuclear explosions. They had protected ships for thousands of years. They had never faced anything like this. Energy shields work by dispersing incoming energy over a wide area. When a plasma bolt hits, the shield spreads the heat and light until it becomes harmless. But the slug was not energy. It was mass. 2 tons of solid tungsten moving at impossible speed, pure kinetic force. The shields tried to stop it. They failed. The slug punched through the energy barrier like it was not there. It entered the front of the destroyer and kept going. Metal vaporized in its path. Bulkheads melted. Crew members died without knowing what killed them. The slug passed through the reactor core, through the engineering section, through the crew quarters, and exited through the back of the ship in a spray of molten debris. The entire journey through the destroyer took less than 1/10 of a second. For a moment, the destroyer seemed frozen in space. A perfect hole had been burned through its center, from bow to stern. Lights flickered along its surface. Then the reactor, damaged beyond repair, went critical. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, the crew watched in stunned silence. Where the lead destroyer had been, there was now only an expanding cloud of fire and debris. Pieces of the ship flew outward in all directions, glowing white-hot against the blackness of space. "Direct hit," Ben said quietly. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Target destroyed." Captain Ho stood slowly from his chair. He looked at the destruction his ship had caused. One shot, one weapon, and one of the most powerful warships in the galaxy was gone. "Status of the other destroyers?" he asked. Checked his display. His hands were shaking. "They have stopped, Captain. They are not moving. They are not firing." On the second and third destroyers, chaos had erupted. Officers screamed at each other. Tactical computers tried to understand what had happened. The flagship, High Commander's personal vessel, had simply vanished. One moment it was there. The next, it was a cloud of gas and twisted metal. "What was that?" the captain of the second destroyer shouted. "What weapon did they use?" "Unknown, sir," his tactical officer responded, his voice high with fear. "Our sensors detected no energy discharge, just a kinetic impact, but the velocity readings are impossible. Nothing moves that fast." "The High Commander?" "Gone, sir. The entire flagship is gone. There are no survivors." The captain stared at the human ship on his screen. It was small. It was damaged. Smoke poured from holes in its hull, but it was still there. And somewhere inside that tiny vessel was a weapon that could kill them all. On the horizon's edge, Ho opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the screens of both remaining destroyers. "Vessels," he said. His voice was calm and cold. You have just witnessed the power of a human. We have 6 more shots loaded. Your high commander is dead. Your flagship is dust. You have 10 seconds to make a choice. Leave now or join him." There was a long, terrible silence. Then slowly, the 2 remaining destroyers began to turn. Their engines flared to life. They accelerated away from the human ship, away from the refugee convoy, away from the expanding cloud that had once been their leader. They ran. Captain Ho watched them go. He did not feel triumph. He did not feel pride. He felt tired and sad. Thousands had died in the explosion. They were enemies, yes, but they had been living beings with lives and families. "Captain," Ben said softly, "the refugee convoy is hailing us." Ho nodded. "Put them through." A voice came through the speakers. It was filled with tears and laughter and disbelief. "Human vessel, Earth vessel, we saw what you did. We saw everything. You saved us. You saved all of us. Thank you, thank you." "You are safe now," Ho said. "Continue to counsel space. No one will harm you." He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Woojin was already directing repair teams to the damaged sections of the ship, was recording sensor data from the battle. Bin was staring at her console, her face pale. "Bin," Ho said, "are you all right?" She looked up at him. "Captain, the whole galaxy was watching. Every species with sensors pointed at this region saw what we did. They were broadcasting the battle to their entire fleet." "I know. Everyone knows now. Everyone knows what we can do." Ho nodded slowly. "Yes, they do." Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire through dry grass. On Accord Prime, Ambassador watched the battle footage with his mouth hanging open. In the council chamber, representatives from 200 species sat in shocked silence as they saw a single human ship destroy a destroyer with one shot. Scholar watched the recording in his private study. He played it again and again, slowing it down, zooming in, trying to understand what he was seeing. A kinetic weapon, a simple projectile, something the galaxy had abandoned as primitive and outdated, and it had done the impossible. "They never forgot," whispered to himself. "While we were building elegant weapons and beautiful shields, they kept throwing rocks. They just got better at it." On Earth, Admiral Hana received the news in her office at Luna Command. She watched the footage once, then turned off her screen and sat in silence for a long time. "Well, Captain Ho," she said to the empty room, "you certainly got their attention." Her communication console beeped. Incoming message from Accord Prime. Priority 1. She was being summoned to an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Hana smiled. It was not a friendly smile. The Dominion's ruling council met in emergency session. The news of High Commander's death had reached them within hours of the battle. The recording of a tiny human ship destroying their mightiest warship played on every screen. "How is this possible?" one council member demanded. "The humans are primitives. They barely discovered space travel." "Their weapon bypassed our shields completely," another said. "Our defenses are designed for energy weapons. This is something else entirely." "We must attack Earth immediately," a third voice shouted, "before they build more of these ships." "With what?" the first council member replied bitterly. "Every captain in our fleet saw what happened. Will you order them to attack a species that can do that?" The council fell into bitter argument, but beneath the anger there was something new, something that they had not felt in centuries. Fear. Back aboard the Horizon's Edge, now limping toward the nearest repair station, Captain Ho stood alone in his quarters. He looked out at the stars and thought about what would come next. The galaxy had changed today. A single shot had rewritten the rules that everyone had followed for 10,000 years. Energy weapons were no longer the only answer. Shields were no longer perfect protection, and humanity was no longer a joke to be dismissed. They would be watched now, studied, perhaps feared. But they would never be ignored again. 2 weeks had passed since the battle near the nebula, but the galaxy had not stopped talking about it. On every planet, in every space station, in every ship traveling between the stars, beings of all species watched the recording again and again. They slowed it down. They zoomed in. They tried to understand how a primitive human weapon had done what no council weapon could do. On Accord Prime, Admiral Hana walked through corridors that had become strangely quiet. Aliens who had once ignored her now stepped aside to let her pass. Those who had laughed at human technology now watched her with something between respect and fear. It was a big change from 2 weeks ago. She entered the council chamber and found it packed with representatives from every member species. Ambassador stood at the center podium. When he saw Hana, he nodded slowly. "Admiral Hana," he said, "thank you for coming." "I did not have much choice," Hana replied as she took her place on Earth's platform. "Your invitation was rather urgent." "Yes, well," cleared his throat. He seemed uncomfortable, like a man about to say something he did not want to say. "The Council has been discussing recent events, the battle at the destruction of the flagship, and the weapon that your vessel used." Hana kept her face calm. "What about it?" "We must ask you some questions, Admiral. Questions that the entire galaxy needs answered." Looked around the chamber at the hundreds of watching delegates. "First, what exactly was the weapon used by your ship?" "It is called an electromagnetic," Hana said. "It uses magnetic fields to accelerate a metal projectile to very high speeds. The concept is quite simple, really. Humans have been developing them for over 300 years. "Simple," repeated the word like it tasted strange in his mouth. "This simple weapon destroyed a destroyer with one shot." "Yes." The destroyer was one of the most heavily shielded vessels in the galaxy. No council weapon has ever breached their defenses. "Energy shields are designed to disperse energy," Hana explained. "Heat, radiation, particle beams. They spread the incoming energy over a wide area until it becomes harmless. But kinetic force does not work that way. A physical object does not spread. It punches through." Murmurs filled the chamber. Many of the delegates looked disturbed by this explanation. They had relied on energy shields for thousands of years. The idea that a simple piece of metal could defeat them was unsettling. "Admiral," said, and Hana noticed that his voice had become more careful. "The Council must ask, how many of these weapons does Earth possess?" Hana smiled. It was a small smile, but it carried weight. "That information is classified." More murmurs. A few delegates began talking loudly among themselves, raised his hands for silence. "Admiral, please understand our concern. We have just witnessed a demonstration of destructive power that we did not know existed. The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted in a single day. The Council needs to know what humanity is capable of." Hana stood up from her seat. She looked around the chamber at all the faces watching her. Some were frightened. Some were angry. A few, like scholars sitting in the observer section, seemed almost excited. "Let me tell you what humanity is capable of," Hana said. "We come from a planet that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Earthquakes, floods, ice ages, predators that could tear us apart with their bare claws. We should have died. Every other intelligent species we have studied evolved on much gentler worlds than ours, but we survived." She paused, letting her words sink in. "And we survived not because we were stronger or faster than the things trying to kill us. We survived because we learned to throw things: rocks, spears, arrows, bullets, missiles. We learned that if you throw something hard enough and fast enough, it will kill anything. Our entire history has been one long lesson in the physics of violence." The chamber was completely silent now. "You abandoned kinetic weapons because you thought they were primitive," Hana continued. "You moved on to elegant energy weapons and beautiful shields, but we did not forget. We could not afford to forget. So yes, we kept developing our primitive technology. We made it better, faster, more powerful. and now you see the result." Ambassador stared at her. "Admiral, are you saying that humanity has been preparing for war since you first reached space?" "I am saying that humanity has been preparing to survive since the first human picked up the first rock. War is just what happens when survival requires it." Hana sat back down. "Now, if you have no more questions, I have a ship to repair and a captain to debrief." She did not wait for permission to leave. On Earth, Captain Ho had become something he never wanted to be, a hero. News networks across the planet showed his face constantly. His name was spoken in homes and schools and government buildings on every continent. The crew of the Horizon's Edge were treated like legends. Ho did not enjoy the attention. He spent most of his time in meetings with military commanders, explaining what had happened, answering questions, and trying to prepare for what might come next. "They will respond," he told the Earth Defense Council. "They lost their high commander and one of their best ships. Their pride will not allow them to accept this defeat quietly." "What do you recommend?" General Park asked. She was the head of Earth's military forces, a serious woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. "We need to prepare, build more ships, install on every vessel we have. The galaxy knows about us now. We cannot hide anymore." Ho paused. "And we need allies. The Council may not have helped us before, but things have changed. Some species will want to be on our side now. And the ones who want to destroy us before we become too powerful." "Those too," Ho admitted. "We need to be ready for both." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Dominion was in turmoil. High Commander had been one of their greatest leaders. His death had created a power vacuum that several ambitious officers were trying to fill. But beneath the political struggles, a deeper debate was happening. Should the Dominion attack Earth immediately, before the humans could build more of their terrible weapons? Or should they wait, observe, and find weaknesses to exploit? "We have the largest fleet in the galaxy," one admiral argued. "We can overwhelm them with numbers." "The largest fleet means nothing if a single shot can destroy any ship," another responded. "We need a new strategy, new defenses. We need time." In the end, the Dominion's ruling council made a decision that surprised everyone. They sent a message to the Galactic Council. They asked for peace talks. The news reached Accord Prime within hours. Ambassador read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. The Dominion, the most aggressive power in the galaxy, the empire that had been threatening war for centuries, was asking to negotiate. "It seems," said to his aides, "that the humans have accomplished in 5 minutes what we could not do in 8,000 years." Scholar published his research paper that same day. He called it The Doctrine, Why We Should Have Seen This Coming. In it, he explained how species that evolved on dangerous planets developed different ways of thinking, different tools, different weapons. "We looked at humanity and saw primitives," wrote. "We saw simple technology and assumed it was inferior technology. We were wrong. Simplicity is not the same as weakness. Sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective. A rock thrown hard enough will kill just as surely as a plasma beam. The humans never forgot this lesson. Perhaps now, neither will we." The paper was read by billions of beings across the galaxy. It changed how many species thought about humanity. The humans were not primitives who had stumbled into space. They were survivors of a deadly world who had never stopped fighting to stay alive. And now they had proven that they were very, very good at it. On a quiet evening, Captain Ho received a private message from Admiral Hana. It contained only a few words. "Well done, Captain. Now the real work begins." Ho looked out his window at the stars. Hana was right. Winning one battle was not enough. The galaxy would be watching everything humanity did from now on. They would judge, evaluate, and decide whether to be friends or enemies. The shot heard across the galaxy had changed everything. Now it was up to humanity to build something lasting from that moment. Ho hoped they were ready.